Having talked with hundreds of parents about the ADHD diagnosis and the natural ways to help it, there's still a lot of confusion on if a child actually has ADHD and what are the causes and how can we help them without medications. So in this video, what we'll do is we will look at ADHD through a lens different than just a diagnosis, unpacking it to see the symptoms and then how the brain and the nervous system influence these systems of the body that brings about the attention, focus, and impulse control struggles that kids go through. Going back to the main root causes will help us to truly make sense of it and then find the answers to address the difficulties that our kids are struggling with. So this video, it's for parents who are looking for medication drug-free options. They may have heard from a teacher, a school administrator, or a counselor that medication is the only or the best option, but it's just not congruent with their beliefs. Also, many dads, and sometimes moms too, attribute ADHD symptoms to genetics, saying really, I struggle with it, so it makes sense that my child does too. So what we'll do here is explore what ADHD really is and how to properly test for it. And most importantly, how to address the root causes of ADHD struggles in kids. What we'll do is we will learn about our unique approach that goes far beyond a traditional diagnosis and medication, offering a path to turn ADHD really into a strength. Let's look at some eye-opening statistics as we dive in. Now, recent studies show that ADHD affects 6 million children in the United States alone. That's roughly 9.4% of all children. And what gets me even more is that ADHD diagnoses, it's increased 42% between 2003 and 2011. And these numbers are staggering. But what truly concerns me and a lot of the parents and teachers that we help is that many of these children are prescribed medications as the first line of treatment without exploring the root causes or any other alternative approaches. Now, the good news is that at Better Chiropractic, we are seeing a growing trend of parents seeking more comprehensive, drug-free solutions for their children's ADHD symptoms. So how do we do that? Well, first, understanding the ADHD types. First thing, it's essential to understand that ADHD is not a one-size-fits-all. There's different types, including combined type as well. You've got the hyperactive, impulsive type, and then the inattentive type. Each type presents differently, and it really requires a tailored and customizable approach. So let's dig into this a little bit more. ADHD isn't just a busy, overwhelmed brain. The body can be overwhelming the brain too, causing the entire central nervous system to be in a fight or flight mode. The question most parents have is, where does the stress come from in the body? Our internal environment. Well, the quick answer to this is there are 4 key stressors that are often overlooked. The first one is that a high stress or high risk pregnancy, what happens is this puts mom and baby into a sympathetic dominant state that shifts more of them into a fight or flight or protective mode. Now from there, the second part is, or step 2, is that the birth interventions take place. That's forceps, you've got vacuum extraction, you've got C-section, or even the induction. What that does, it places a physical component of stress, most commonly in the upper neck and shoulder region, that totally overwhelms neuromotor development. Then you've got the fussy or colicky baby, or an infant with reflux or constipation struggles that continues to overwhelm our autonomic or automatic nervous system. And then finally, you've got that 4th stage, which is that frequent ear and or respiratory infections before the age of 3, along with antibiotic use. That's the key. By adding that stress, that antibiotic stress to the autonomic nervous system and vagus nerve, which is your brain and gut connection, or part of that is your brain and gut connection. Now, when the nervous system gets overtaxed or overlooked, like we saw in these 4 stressors, the signal it sends to the brain are full-on protective fight or flight response in every area of the brain. Starting with, you've got the cerebellum back here. That's the motor center, which causes kids to not be able to sit still. Then you've got the midbrain deep within. That's the limbic system, which is specifically talking about the hippocampus, which affects focus and attention. And then you've got the prefrontal cortex region that affects socialization, situational awareness, and the ability to self-calm and regulate. So hopefully all of this is making sense as we map this out. And I want you to know that ADHD isn't just hyperactivity. An overwhelmed body and brain can cause brain fog and focus and attention issues. And when it's not addressed, it can be an absolutely huge energy drain for our kids. And this is actually really common to see with kids with ADHD, especially if they struggle with all four of the causes that we just mentioned here, to be more wound up and tired instead of hyperactive. This happens for really three main reasons. The first one, when the system is in a sympathetic dominant state for a long time. You've got high energy, you've got low sleep performance, and you've got constant stress. It eventually burns out and really demotivates and makes kids tired or puts them that's when that grumpy state really sets in. So that's really mapping things out. But a lot of times we get questioned, there's got to be a role of genetics in here somehow. The answer to that is yes. Genetics, they can influence these behaviors, but not nearly as much as we might think. The nervous system, the vagus nerve, and its development play a way bigger role in all of this. For example, Bruce Lipton's study. He's a PhD biologist who studies epigenetics. And it's estimated that no more than 15% of our genetic code determines our outcomes or who we are. The cool thing about that is that this means that up to 85% of us is influenced by our internal and external environment. I think that's incredibly encouraging, meaning that even though dad or mom may have struggled with attention and focus, things like that, it doesn't mean that our kids have to also. So when it comes down to it, we got to find some action steps on all of this. How can we test for ADHD? Well, traditional ADHD tests often focus solely on symptoms, which can be really frustrating. You can find yourself really chasing your tail. But here at Better Chiropractic, we go deeper. We've got this cool technology. It's called INSiGHT Scans. And our INSiGHT Neurological Scans allow us to measure the exact amount of distress, dysfunction, and disorganization within that central and autonomic nervous system that we talked about. This gives us a clear picture of what's really going on in the brain and the body. For example, in the classic raging bull or ADHD case, we might see a total energy index of over 350 points, when the optimal is actually 150 or less for kids. When we come to the inattentive or drunken bull type, we might observe a pattern score of 50 when the ideal is 100, ideally. Now, these metrics, they tell us so much more than any checklist of behaviors really ever could, the symptom side of it. It's best that we found to be able to measure this now that we have the technology to do so. So instead of just addressing or trying to treat symptoms, we focus on those underlying neurological imbalances. ADHD, it often stems from an overstressed, stuck, and out of balance nervous system. And by addressing the root causes, we can actually create lasting change, which is awesome. So how do we do that? Well, we've got this thing called personalized care plans. We use the data from our scans, then we create a customized care plan tailored to exactly what your child needs. There's a no one size magic pill fits all approach to any of this. This is a drug-free, customizable approach for your child. While medication, it has its place. We believe in exploring the drug-free option first. Our approach aims to optimize the brain function naturally, reducing or really even eliminating the need for any medication in many cases or kids that we see. The last thing, and this may be the biggest paradigm game changer shift for your child. We help to reframe ADHD. It's not just a disorder. It's a different way of processing information that, when properly managed, can lead to incredible creativity, productivity, and success for your child. So really, if you have tried everything and are feeling held back by ADHD, or if you're a parent watching your child struggle, it's time to take action. Don't let another day go by feeling overwhelmed or misunderstood. I invite you to visit our website or give us a call to schedule your INSiGHT Neurological Scans. Let us work together to uncover the root causes of your child's ADHD symptoms and then create a personalized care plan to be able to use ADHD as a superpower.